All right. Are you gonna? Why don't you lead in with the announcements, and then I'll bring Morgan in. Or
Okay.
do you want
I
me to
will,
start with
yeah,
Morgan and then the
just introduce Morgan real quick, and then before we get into it, we'll go to the announcements. So
All right, killer man.
188, I believe. Yep.
All right. Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Awkward Watersports Guys. We are at episode 188. If it wasn't for Greg Fisher, my wonderful podcast partner, I would have ended this at episode 1.8. I'd have made it to
Actually, to be exact, it's episode 10.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, this is so pointless. No. Yeah, episode 188. Today we are joined with a new type of guest that we haven't had on the show before. Morgan Frayser from Slick Rock Off-Road. Right? Did I get that all in there?
You did, yep. Slick Rock Off-Road Rentals.
Slick Road Off-Rock Rentals. I was lucky enough to be at Morgan's business in Moab, Utah over the summer, and I thought it was so cool, and I thought they had such an interesting business that I invited Morgan on. And yeah, man, thanks for joining us today. How you doing, brother?
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here. Doing good. How are you guys?
Yeah, fantastic, man. It's been a great summer, man. So yeah, oddly enough, I'd already really wanted to have Morgan on because I thought his business was super interesting. And then I wrecked one of his machines, and I was like, I did it on purpose actually, because I just thought it would be a great content piece, And I unfortunately, we had a great conversation before. We talked a lot about damage protection. And he's like, yeah, this is exactly why we don't sell it, because of idiots like you. And I was like, awesome. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you guys got into the business, where you're at, all the good stuff, man. Give us a rundown.
Hey, real quick, before we get to the good stuff.
Yeah, shit.
As we always do every show, and you're going to hear it every show before the port, tickets are available. We got our vendor ticket, operator tickets, watersportpodcast.com. By the time this episode airs, we should have our schedule. So go to watersportpodcast.com to check out the schedule, hotels, flight information. Everything is there. Do not wait, because we are limited in how many people can go this year, like we are every year. So yeah, get your tickets ASAP, or Kevin will get in your DMs and yell at you.
Watersportpodcast.com, October 20th and 21st, the event of the century.
Yeah, we got some really great sponsors, and even more are to be announced too. So going to be a great trade show as well.
Yeah, we're super stoked on it, man. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we have some people from Yamaha going to be there, not directly, but one of their distributors. Hey, Morgan, does Yamaha make any type of off-road vehicle?
Yeah, so they make a YXZ 1000, and it's a 2-seater only. They don't have a 4-seat version of that. They also have the Yamaha Rhino, and that was the OG of all of them. And that certainly kind of sparked the interest of side-by-sides in Moab, was the Yamaha Rhino.
Oh, really?
They were bulletproof. Man, you could flip them and roll them and drive them everywhere, and they just never seemed to break.
I wish you rented those.
You know what? Yeah, Yamaha also makes saxophones and flutes and piano.
Yeah, they make everything: trumpets, pianos.
Have you ever seen that video where the Yamaha product, like the two kids? I just posted it in our Facebook group last night, but it's these two kids, and they're like, all right, like we formed our company, we have our financing, like what are we going to sell? And the guy's like, he's like, trumpets. He's like, pianos. And the guy's like, yeah, I see where you're going with this. He's like, boats. Jet skis. And he's like, wait a minute, what? He's like, oboe reeds. I've never seen it before. It came on my TikTok. I loved it, man. So good. No shit. All right. So yeah, man, a little bit about your business. When did you guys get started, and who's all involved?
Yeah, so we're a small family business. So it's me and my dad primarily. I've got my wife that does all of our website design, T-shirts, logos. She does all of that stuff. Our social media stuff too. And she is super talented in that. Anywho, it's just us. We keep it small. We don't have any employees besides us, so we work 7 days a week for as long as we have to, which means we work every holiday, every weekend, and we smile about it. So,
when did you guys get started? What year?
So we started this in 2020. Before that, we were an automotive repair business, and we did anything and everything: builds, repairs. We did Ceramic Pro. We were actually certified Ceramic Pro installers for that. We did buffing, paint correction, details, you name it. And that wore on us. So I eventually said, hey, we should really think about doing something different. So we got into this in 2020, which, of course, for everybody, was kind of a moment of clarity. Everybody was kind of going, what am I doing right now when I'm sitting on my butt doing nothing and there's nothing to do? So we decided to get into this, and it's been awesome ever since. We deal with happy customers every day. The ones that aren't happy are certainly memorable. So it's made it into a much better change. I'm watching my body not disintegrate as fast as it was when we were doing that, which was a big reason why we were changing into this. And it's a lot easier to manage. So I can send people out in the morning, in the middle of the day, and bring them back in the evening, and have, a couple hours in between all of that where I can go and do whatever. It's kind of nice.
Let me ask you this real quick, Kevin. How did you find his business?
I was looking through the yellow pages, and they were actually AAA plus UTV rental, so they were on the first page. Why do you ask? It's such a bizarre fucking.
I'm just curious.
Online, dude. I mean,
what, did you search for it?
I shot a fucking smoke signal, dude. I Googled them, man. You know what I mean? Like, how else would I fucking find them, dude? Are you trying to do some weird lesson?
I thought, well, you told me in the previous show that you were using TikTok a lot during your trip to find things to do. So I'm just curious if there was a.
Dude, I mean, we did so much shit. I can't. I may have just because I was ready. I knew I wanted to do a UTV, so I was you know what I mean? I was already ready. So like decision, you know what I mean? I wasn't searching for things to do like top of funnel. No, I was well down in the thing. And Steve actually, I mean, he recommended one of his people, and I can't remember what it was. There was something. God, man, and I don't want to say like, oh, something in their marketing, you know what I mean? Like my business partner and owns a marketing agency, huge sponsor of the show. No, the guy he recommended me to, marketing was great. I can't remember what it was. It had something to do with the bump seat. Like I feel as though not a lot of companies were like offering that third seat in the back. And then as soon as I got your dad on the phone, I think I knew why, because they're trying to shove like 3 adults back there all the time, fit 5 people in there. You know, I almost got 2 machines, and I fucking really wish I would have, you know what I mean? Well, not really, because we did get rescued pretty quick out there, thank God. But I was like, if we didn't, dude, I was like, oh my God, we'd have been fucking out here for some hours, man, for sure, dude. That would have sucked. But yeah, I searched, and they came up, and they had something in there, and it was like deep in the FAQ too. And so I think this is like a lesson for people who don't really give like a lot of credit to the FAQ, you know, because I just didn't want to call around a bunch of places, and they had something in there about like the bump seat and how they could take 3 if it was a small child. And I had my 4-year-old son, and that was in there. So there you go. Like kudos to your wife. You know what I mean? For really taking attention to detail on that, because had I not saw that in the literature, I probably just would have called somebody else, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we have super friendly competitors, so they're all friends. I call them all the time. Same with you guys, I'm sure.
Yep.
So what we learned is with those guys, they have to kind of hide their pricing. So we went out and put it on our front page, our pricing after tax right out the door. And that turned a lot of business our way, because when people are looking at 7 different websites trying to figure out who to go with, that really pushes people our direction. We're transparent. I don't have anything to hide pricing wise.
But you guys though, and so I had somebody in the group like kind of bitching about this in your space, because who is it? Greg, is it Hershey? Does Brian Hershey have? I feel like he's got UTVs, or somebody made a post complaining about the maintenance fees. I'm pretty sure it was Brian, but there's like in your industry. Firstly, you guys got like a ton of crazy local taxes and maintenance fees. So, I mean, can you kind of talk about that a little bit? Like,
Yeah.
what you, yeah.
So we were a Main Street business, and we were right there. Beautiful spot. It was like prime location for Moab. And what we learned is the tax rate there is ridiculous. So there's like 7 different taxes they nail you with on top of like a tourism tax and a few other things. And it ends up being
you
about
said
32.
tourism tax on activities?
Yeah. So
Wow.
anything to do with biking or anything you can rent a piece of equipment or buy a piece of equipment that has a tourism tax associated with it, as well as housing or, Airbnb, that kind of thing.
So it's like a bed tax almost.
Bed tax
Exactly.
on activities, yeah.
Yeah. So ours is called the TRT tax, transient room tax, and it applies to not just rooms; it applies to all that stuff too. And a bunch of others. Regardless, what it ends up being is about 32% in tax on top of what you pay for whatever you're doing, which is
insane. That's so
insane. That's just so outrageous.
It puts all of my competition at the end of the day like $150 higher than me, and they don't even see that dollar. It all goes to the county and the city both. So it's like super draconian is kind of what it amounts to. 5 years ago, it was an all-out attack on these things. They're too noisy was kind of their argument. We all took it as a cost of tourism, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. For here, that's what we have, and it's noisy, and that's just the way it is. For the people that had just moved in, that's not how it was from where they came. So it was not a good adjustment for them. In fact, it was more of a, we just want to end this, this whole thing.
I was reading somewhere about the federal government wanted to claw back some land from, and I don't know if it was just the national parks or if it was state parks, if you guys got wrapped into that, but they wanted to take a bunch of the national park land back for affordable housing, which is just a fucking disaster if you ask me. But I mean, would that affect any of your trails or anything like that, or affected your business at all?
That specifically, no, not really. I can tell you in this state, it was a big deal. It's where it originated. Mike Lee was going to do that. And it was going to be millions of acres of land that they were going to do that with. And I can tell you, nobody was happy with it in the state. It didn't matter your political background. Everybody just wasn't happy with it. And so you see a lot of people get upset about that, but a lot of it is like you're handing over public access land to private, and nobody wants to see it to go to private anything, whether it's affordable housing or a big corporation. They just don't want that to happen. Yeah. And I don't disagree. I mean, a lot of our public access land is state land. And the state land is cool because it is way more public and open to you than it is anybody else. And if you live in the state of Utah, it's free camping. You don't have to pay for a campsite. You don't have to go and put up in a dedicated spot. You can go anywhere in the state land and do it, which is super unique and cool. But with this, it would have gone away. They would have gotten rid of that, which is definitely the biggest downside as to why everybody was so upset, was that they didn't want to lose their free camping.
Yeah,
rightfully I mean, so.
I just, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that at any level, because I mean, it goes without saying, man, that there's like a certain, what they said, like keep in mind that the wilderness is wild, right? And and man, I got to see some of that firsthand while I was on the road. It's like come around a corner and all of a sudden you're 20 yards from a bison, and I'm like, oh my god, run!
Yeah.
But this is like the untouched, kind of like pristine pieces of America, like that are like, man, when you go there and you're like, oh my god, like this is what makes this country great, is access to this kind of stuff. And the last thing you want to do is see any portion of that become industrialized. And I don't think that that's just people that live there. I think you get a sentiment from the entire country that probably feels that way. And, you know, unless you're getting some kind of fucking entitlement out of it, which I'm obviously not a huge fan of.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing here, so the national park system decided to come up with a reservation system because they thought their parks were being overpopulated in the season time.
Yeah.
So they implemented it, and it damaged every economy near those parks
Really?
by 33% every year since it started.
Wow, that I did not know.
Yeah, so that was about 10 years ago that they started talking about it, and 5 years ago they implemented it. And for 5 years, every year, 33% just going down, down, down.
But
And
let me give you a little pushback on that. I mean, could that also not be due to? So you said it started 5 years ago. I mean, then it would have happened in the height of COVID, right?
yeah, so it was the COVID thing that really let it kind of go wild. It was starting before COVID, because before COVID, Moab would see upwards of 3 million people in this little itty bitty town with nowhere for anybody to stay. So all the campsites were full, all the hotels were full, Airbnbs, nightly rentals, everything.
I gotcha.
Packed.
Yeah.
So during those times, we didn't have the effects of COVID, and it would have been good to limit that a little bit. But after COVID, it was already, it was kicking us while we were down. So now it's deterring people away, because instead of just going to national park and getting in and going to do your thing, you go there, they tell you have to go online. You go online, you book a reservation slot. Now you're screwed on your timing, and then you have to come back to go and do it. And then you go and do it, and it's like not as good because you only get so much time in the park before they make you get out of the park. It just screws it up.
I thought that once you were in the park, though, you could be there an unlimited amount of time.
You can, but they definitely track who's been in there and for how long.
Sure.
And so when they do that, it kind of like you'll run across a park ranger, and the park ranger's like, oh yeah, like how long you guys been in here? And you might say like, oh, well, we've been here, 2 hours, 45 minutes. We've been in, Delicate Arch. We went over here to this one and that one. And they might go, well, typically your average time should be about an hour and a half.
Really?
And so they kind of make you feel bad for being there. And that is very bad for tourism.
You need like an act of Congress to change anything with national parks. Like we've dealt with this in our town. So we have a popular boating area called Crab Island, and the county actually gave the NPS control over this popular resource, which 1,000 boats go a day, and most companies can't even survive without it. And we actually had to get our congressman to basically put a kibosh on their plans of reassigning it for the use rights, and that would have just totally destroyed for maybe not for rentals, but for just the vendors, because people go there to interact with the vendors and take charters there. So yeah, it's like so hard to get anything changed if it's under national parks. If it's state parks, a lot easier, because then you only have to go to people from the state, but you actually get your congressman involved in any changes, and it takes forever. I mean,
yeah. And here we have 2 national parks. So we have Arches, and then we have Canyonlands. And Canyonlands, you don't have to have a reservation for. For Arches, you have to have a reservation for it. Our state parks are wide open, easy to get into. You still have to pay to get into. It's like $20 a day or something like that, or less. So it's like you don't have that so much with those places. But I do know like other places for national parks are using us as an example with that reservation system, and they've been skewing all of the results of it. So like I said, we're down 33% every year. And for last year, they did surveys, and the surveys showed that we were up 67%. And there's just no way that's at all possible. Yeah. We've lost 13 businesses because there's a lack of tourism. And it was because of this, solely this. So it's wild that they are trying to do that, but they're also like, we're being bombarded with a lot of activism. So everybody that's wanting to keep the desert pristine, they don't want anybody in it. It doesn't matter if it's hiking, biking, fishing, climbing, skydiving. They just don't want people there.
Are you familiar with Braxton McCoy?
No.
So Braxton McCoy is he started like a grassroots movement against that plan to start clawing back all of that acreage from the national parks. He was just recently on Sean Ryan. It was really a good episode, but it's something that he talked about that we've seen firsthand. And this is unfortunately the scary part of way government works, is that you can absolutely um, uh, form a group or coalition and go speak out. But once these plans sort of get initiated, even when they don't pass, it's if you're not vigilant on, if you don't stay fighting it, like they don't forget. Like we'll walk away saying like we had a victory, but if you don't keep an eye on it, then there's some other way they try and slip it in. When the federal government, when any kind of government, when they get together, it's not for, you know what I mean? It's generally for money. It's definitely not for the people.
We've
seen it firsthand.
This group specifically, so they seem to be from endless money, and it all originates from like a German guy in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And what it really amounts to, these guys were like, picket fence type protesters, and they eventually realized that wasn't effective. So what they did is they started pushing them into local governments. So 5 years ago, our local government was filled with these guys, and their ultimate agenda was to end tourism. They wanted to end it here, but there's nothing else here. So they had nothing to replace it with. No mining efforts, no natural resource efforts, nothing. So it was just all, see you later tourism. We're going to sell all the houses to the rich, and we're going to expect the other people here to run the place, but they have nowhere to live. And so it pushed a lot of people out of here doing that. And then the attack on this industry was insane. So they wanted businesses to be limited to 8 machines. Some companies here have 120. So you were only allowed to have 8 and use 8. You had to register those to the county. You had to have flag whips. You had to have branding on every corner of that thing, so everybody knew who you were when you went out. And then on top of that, they were going to limit your time out. So you were only allowed to do 4 hours of anything. Then they decided that they were going to put 8-foot concrete walls around all the businesses that were 2 foot thick to mitigate sound. They did insane stuff to try to get us to leave.
Unfortunately, like the only thing that stops this, right, is like you have to have a war chest like the size of their war chest. And unfortunately, a lot of small, medium-sized businesses, they don't have the resources, the bandwidth. However, like when you just sue them, that's it. Just sue them in open court. Like that's the only time it slows any of this down, because we've seen this. We've seen it happen here too, time and time again. And it's the same thing, right? Same horse, same color. I mean, I was concerned about that one too. I was like, man, are they gonna get smart to limiting the amount of boats that we can have? Is that going to be the way they do it? In Destin, they have like a moratorium. So, basically what you have is all you can have. I mean, they have a regulation that has a stipulation. If it has to be okayed by the city if you can sell your business and who you're going to sell it to. And just like the level of the level of and again, it's on our business. It's on a tourism based business. And I think what the hope is there, and then the badges that they have are non-transferable. So it's not like you can go and sell like a portion of your fleet to like another operator. And I think what they hope to do on that is that, like, if you go away, if your landlord or whatever decides to sell the property, whatever it may be, is that we're going to make it difficult for anyone to take this business over. And, it's death by 1,000 cuts, that we're going to get rid of your business one way or another. And it's sad because it's always from the same constituency, right? Yep. It's always from the same group of people that, I was here first. And, generally it's always either like a lawyer or some, younger guy whose dad has a business or something like that. There's always old money behind these initiatives. And the only thing you can do is just fight. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I told you, like, we ran one of our friends in the business. I helped talk him into running, and he ran for office. And that's all you can do, because we've seen other communities. Key West has a super pro business and pro tourism related friendly city council, mayor. And that's all you can do, is really start to get your people in office, get your people, that are friendly to what we do. And,
we ran a few of our guys. So we have 3 of them that made it in. And right now they're the only reason why it's going the other direction. They were hitting us through the justice side of it. So our county attorney was telling our county basically what they could and couldn't say and what they couldn't do, and she just allowed them to do whatever they wanted. So when it came to those crazy things they were doing, part of it was events. So we used to have, I think it was 200 events a year, and most of them were off-road events, and they ended up killing all of those. And the way they did it was they made the application process super difficult. So you only get a week to apply. The week that you get to apply, you have to do an intent to apply. So they can deny you before you can even apply. And then if you pass that and you apply, they'll deny it. They won't allow it, even though they say, we might allow it. It'll go to the council, and the council will vote on it. They'll say yes or no. No, they'll just deny it. They also hid this website to apply, so it was super hard to find it. And then you'd find a link for it, and they'd pass it around, and then they'd make a new website. So they made it like impossible to apply for an event, and that just murdered Moab. Our big events left. They went to the other side of the state, and they haven't returned because of it. So what they did was permanently damaging. People aren't willing to consider to put an event in Moab because they did that. It's changed now, like I said. So we got a new council, and they're definitely turning it the other direction and making it to where it's easy to apply again, and approving more events and doing all sorts of stuff. They've actually allowed Hollywood to come in and use us again for film locations like they did in the past. So they're doing a bunch of stuff to bring it back. But what they've done is so damaging. It's so hard to come back from. They were making billboards in multiple states, and the billboards said, like, respect our town when you're here. And that message basically said, like, fuck you, give me your money, and then leave. Like, we don't want you here. And it's like, no, we want people to be here and enjoy this place that's just this weird oasis out in the middle of nowhere, without water. I mean, we've got the Colorado River, but I wouldn't swim in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like you guys are a blue state.
So we're a red state. That's what's crazy. We're a red state, but the blue activism came in and did all of this. And they're called SUA, so it's Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance, and their motto is, "We will not stop until there is no human footprint left." And they mean it, man. I mean, and you don't have a way to fight them either. So we took them to court. There's 14 of us businesses that sued these guys. We took them to court. There was 80 line items that we were all upset about, and how it was illegal to do what they were doing, and they threw all of them out. And we lost our suit, and we paid thousands of dollars to do it. And so the next suit that came about, they were prepared for it, so you couldn't even have a valid lawsuit to fight them. They already went through the legal avenue to to stop you from doing anything you wanted to do. It was awful. I mean,
I'll tell you, dude. My only advice on that is, I know for myself personally, it was very taxing on me, psychologically. And I know I think the last whatever meeting it was, like one of my peers like texted me like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "Where am I? What?" Like there's like, "Oh, there's a meeting." And I really had to, I really just sort of had to step back from all of that and say, like, you know what, man, I'm an entrepreneur. Part of my job as an entrepreneur is to solve problems. I can't solve problems for my staff. I can't solve problems for my business if I'm constantly embroiled on this, in this political tug of war that's happening between our industry and between, you know, government. And this only logical next step, if I stay like this heavy embroiled in it, is to like, I have to go sit up there. And if I'm sitting up there, then that takes me away from like my mission of solving problems and scaling. And so, you know, when it comes to Crab Island and all this sort of stuff that we go through up here, you know, I get everybody together, and, you know, if you guys really, really need me there because there's strength in numbers, I'll be there. But I can't lay awake at night wondering what, you know, a political opponent of my business is going to do. All I can do is continue to make his life hell by figuring other ways to bring people here, because what you're saying is absolutely right. You know, this opposition to tourism, you're right. If they just don't want people here, this is mine. This is my grandpappy's. I was born here. We're this weird nativism where there's an entitlement to everything. And
Kevin, look at these Facebook groups and just in Destin. Like, why do you live in Destin and bitch constantly about tourism? I mean, the same people for years. They'll just bitch about it. And it's like, why do you live here? I mean, tourism is the major, you know, economy. You know, it's just, it's wild. It's like, get out of here. Go. Like, leave.
That's always my answer. You know?
It's like, well, why'd you move here?
Right. So I like my community that I live in is we're starting to get really, you know, we're going to start getting packed the next 10 years. It's not going to look anything like it did. But, you know, I'm not going to be some 6-year-old at a town hall, like trying to, you know what I mean? I'll just be like, I'll move to Montana, or, you know what I mean? I'll join the angry people on that side.
We saw some pretty radical efforts for them to make a really good case about getting rid of our industry, like totally. And what it was is, so it's an ever rotating door of people. They're all super disposable. So like you could go shit on their doorstep, light it on fire every day, and they're just going to move that guy to Jackson Hole and put a new one there. And they're going to do the same exact thing with the same mindset, the same verbiage. And like, what came of that is we identified all those people, we singled them out and pointed out to the public, this is why your business isn't doing good, is these people are making decisions on your behalf without listening to you at all. They're not representing the people. So out of that, they decided to have some pretty radical, like, extremist type views. So we had a guy that would flip off people on the street corner of his house every time they passed. He was there all day long. He's like a lemonade stand dude without the lemonade. I mean, if he did have lemonade, he'd probably pissed in it. So it's like, I think we had one of those. We had another guy. He had planned bombings for certain events they did approve. He was going to sabotage businesses and plant bombs in their machines. He had guns posted at every window in his house, waiting for the police to arrive. He was super bad, and he went under aliases, and he went on for like 6 years before they finally caught the guy. And they went to the absolute extreme of everything to try to end it, and ultimately they lost. This industry is not going anywhere. The snowball is too big, and now they're trying to figure out ways to just make it to where it's just undesirable. And if they can make it undesirable, all the businesses go with it.
Well, let me switch gears on. Let's talk about another uncomfortable subject. Like, so in our industry, like for jet skis, it's highly litigious. So, you know, water sports, like somebody stubs their finger and, you know, the lawyers are like, yeah, here you go. Here's $1 million, you know, or, you know, somebody stubs their finger, doesn't sue, and rates go up. I mean, do you guys see something similar with that?
You know, not all that often, to be honest with you. What we do see, the only time we really see that is if you have serious injury or death, it doesn't happen very often. Serious injury, definitely more than death, but I mean, not often at all. And if you do see it, they're typically like the waivers that we have set up and designed all go through the lawyers in the state. And so the state, as soon as that case comes about, it's like, well, I helped write this waiver. And so most of the time it doesn't hold well at all.
That's crazy. So like I've had insurance agents are like, you know, your waiver doesn't mean anything in Florida, because we obviously are with ours, because we've had like significant, there's been tort reform, and in our industry, it hasn't gotten any better. And it's like, anytime. And so like to this point, like why when we sell damage protection, it's really lifted so much off of our shoulders, because somebody wrecks a jet ski, right? So somebody takes a jet ski, 100% their fault. They collide, destroy a jet ski, maybe they hit their head, nothing visible, whatever, but I hit my head on the ski. So if I call my agent and I have to report that, right? So they got into an accident on our ski, they totaled our ski, and they hit their head. They didn't go to the hospital, but they said they hit their head. And so the first thing that comes up is like, I've had an agent tell me like, be careful if you charge them for the machine, because if they get upset about that, and they, get to with a lawyer and say, hey, this guy, crashed his machine. They charged my credit card $5,000 to pay for the machine. That lawyer is going to go, oh, did you get hurt? And then they're going to have a lawsuit. So, a lot of the times when we used to charge for damages, it was always like, man, you know what I mean? What do we do? Do we charge them for the machine, or do we just let them walk? Because if they go to an attorney over the damage charge, the attorney's going to go, well, we're going to sue them for the, the charges that they charge you. And then we're also going to sue them for, any pain and suffering. And it's a real problem here. So it's great to hear that it's not happening with your industry, because that would be horrible. Every time someone does $5,000 worth of damage, you can't charge them because they're going to sue you later.
And we do hold like super expensive insurance policies, like everywhere in town here. It's like ridiculous. So I know of a guy, he had 12 machines and he was paying $120,000 a year in insurance that he could never claim against. So you claim against it and then they drop you and there's nobody else to replace them. So you're like stuck in the monopoly of their insurance.
Is it Prime? Is Prime insurance the one that's writing everybody?
No, this one's I can't remember what it's called. It's Mountain something out of Denver, I think. And they just cornered the market. They are it. There's nobody else. And I mean, I do know of others in town. They personally insure every one of their machines, and they write on their people that are renting as, the driver for the day. And those are even more expensive because you're going through big insurance. So it's a game to play for sure. And that's why everybody carries the damage deposit, is if they do a claim against an automotive policy, then it complicates it far worse than if you were to just pay for the damages outright away from insurance. So
side by side, do they count as like vehicles when you're at the classification? It's not a boat, obviously, but
it's a gray area. So these things are so new that the big industry of insurance and like manufacturer standards and stuff like that, they don't know how to like deal with side by sides because they're so new. And so they're street legal, right? So they're identified as a car with some like, exceptions where they can't do something. So for side by sides in Utah, it's a car you register, but it can't be on a highway. So it's like they give you a little bit of a stipulation. And then when it comes to insurance, they see it as a high risk activity, so they won't cover it. They won't even consider covering it. If you have a private machine, they will.
The customer's insurance, will that carry over if I have from my car? Can they use that? No.
Typically not, unless you carry that specific policy for renting side by sides, and like none of the insurance companies have that. For the private guy, so it's like it's hard to have anything kind of insured. So the only insurance you get is for injury or death and liability, essentially. So somebody slips and falls, that kind of deal. It's really complicated, and there's a void that needs to be filled there for our industry. And it seems like nobody's willing to step forward because it is high risk. So there's going to be more claims than there is any other industry. So that brings in VQuip. I don't know if you guys know VQuip, right?
Yeah, we just had their CEO on the show 2 hours ago.
Yeah, so they're the only ones that do that sort of coverage for our industry, and it doesn't work very well right now. I can tell that they're trying to improve on it, and they definitely go through like Nationwide and some of the big insurance companies, so they have to do it their way, and it's just complicated. So
they're working on it, man.
I know, and I'm just like,
you'll have
on,
to. So your episode will come out right after Cam's, but that's just so ironic because like we literally just talked about all this, because they are trying to solve for things in the insurance industry to help lower premiums and fight against fraudulent charges in the water sport industry in Florida here for sure. And
as a side note, Morgan, I would anything you see that could improve, let them know, because
100%.
they're actively trying to kind of figure out, because they're here to stay. Like they're very committed and they've come a long way since they started, but they would love that feedback, because I've heard operators say like it's kind of like you are, hey, the first version of the product wasn't right, but now it's gotten a lot better because they've been working with their team. So yeah, just let them know what you think could improve, and they're listening. So
yeah, I mean, if they're listening, I would love if they'd get in contact with me, and I can definitely help them improve for our industry.
Great. We'll put you guys
and I'm more than willing to do that, just because it needs to happen. I mean, if it doesn't happen, it's going to complicate this industry far worse until somebody else comes in and outdoes them. And I mean, competition isn't necessarily bad. For guys like me, having a variety of options is always good, especially when we have none. So I would love to help him, but yeah, I mean, that's the hard part of our industry, and anybody looking to get into it and do what I do, that turns them away. Just because
I'm ready, dude. I'm ready to move out west, man. Like the other thing I saw was really cool out there, which I felt probably does really good, is like and I know that Cruise America probably like owns the majority of the space, but it seems like, man, renting like Class A's, like RVs out to people in that market would just absolutely crush, man. Because somebody said it to me here, is like, oh yeah, you should get into renting RVs, and I'm like, well, not here. There it would do so well because people fly in, they rent the thing, and like everywhere is drivable. You can go 2-3 hours and just be in a different location. And I'm like, man, that business would. And then I saw a bunch of like independent businesses doing it. You know what I mean? I'm like, what a fucking opportunity.
For foreign travels, that's what foreigners love. They love not having to find a hotel room all the way across the United States, especially if they don't speak super good English. And so they're like, yeah, we'll just rent an RV. The fastest it can go is like, I think it's 48 miles an hour or something like that. So on all the main highways, you're stuck behind those Cruise America RVs. It's kind of funny.
I love it. We were counting them while we were out there. I told Tammy, I was like, oh my God, we have to see 100 of these things if we saw one of them. I'm ready, dude. I want to open up a campground, rent UTVs, I mean, I'm in this industry, but I love your industry. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't love it, you know what I mean, if I got a satellite text, and I'm so happy it didn't go through, because it was just the most panicked text that I sent to you, was just like, we rolled, we need help. We were damn near out of water, dude. Like, so for anybody who didn't see my post, I rented a machine from Morgan in his business. And then, we had this great talk. He showed me videos, and the whole time it was going through my head. I was just like, don't fucking wreck this thing, dude. Whatever you do, you're gonna feel like such a dumbass. And I got the extended video, dude. Like everyone I've showed it to is like, I don't see what happened. I was like going fast, I was going straight, and I think I just hit a divot, overcorrected, and it was like hitting a brick wall, and I flipped it. And then we were deep, you know what I mean? We had left your location, and so we were probably about 2 hours into the thing, and we flipped the machine. And then, luckily, like only like 10 minutes later, like a group of like hobbyists that happened to have like a chase vehicle, tow straps, because the tire popped off the rim. That was the real problem. And so they got the tire, caught a bead, filled it back up. And then the damn tire was at like a 45-degree angle pointing inward. I was shocked that I could even get it back, because I asked the guy, I was like, do you think, man, we're like 30 miles away, you think we're going to be able to get this back? And he was like, yeah, you'll be good, man. Just take it easy. And I'm like, all right. And sure enough, man, we got it back and everything. We got back, and Morgan had told me the story about this guy and showed me the video. Guy flips the thing, fucks the machine up, and then he's like, "Yeah, what if I just told you that it just, we were driving along and it just like folded in on itself?" So that was my excuse when I came back. I was like, "Yeah, dude, I was just cruising around and it just, I don't know, did that itself. I
don't know what to tell you. It just fell right out from underneath the thing, So that brings me to my next thing I wanted to talk to you about. So for Moab, one of our biggest challenges is our geographic situation. So for GPS, for anything to do with tracking, all of our canyon walls block everything. So we don't have good communication. I'm currently working with people on trying to get a better GPS system for places like here that involve low orbit satellites. So it does have a much easier way of seeing the surface of the Earth. And let me tell you, that is not at all technologically advanced enough for it to work properly. So for me, I have dead zones. So when I look at my map, there's specific spots. There's no cell service. My GPS won't read right there until they get to a spot where there is service, and it'll update, it traveled this far. But that's it. I don't have anything other than like a Garmin InReach that has a way of reaching me. So it's like super hard to get anything to see my people out there and have it work reliably. Say what?
Is there any emergency equipment on the ATV, like flares or no?
Nothing that you can use in the desert. No.
I
flares are
my Starlink, dude, because I considered. I was like, I'm not gonna need that. What I did? It was like a question. I was like, man, should I grab my Starlink? You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I'll be fine. You know what I mean?
And if you had, it would have worked. So like T-Mobile and how they came out with the satellite Starlink thing that you can use on the T-Mobile phones, and it's like how it works instead of cell towers. That works really good in Moab in those kinds of areas. And it's because you don't have a canyon wall in the way. And it's tough. I mean, ham radio doesn't work here well at all without super big complications.
my wife was like, we'll just start walking. I was like, are you fucking nuts?
No, don't do that.
It's 107 degrees out. We've got about a gallon of water left for the four of us. So like my daughter started walking. I was like, where are you guys going? I was like, no. Someone's going to come along. We'll be fine. But at first there was like 7 minutes inside my head. I was like, just start digging holes, man. You know what I mean? We're all going to die. Just bury them now.
Yeah. I mean, and that's exactly right. I mean, you just got to sit and wait. And if you do start walking, then you collapse, and then you're heat exhausted, heat stroked, and you have risk of dying from heat. And so, like, we see that hundreds of calls a year of people collapsing in arches because they overheated. Like, it's a huge problem here. And the only real answer is water, and we're in the desert and there's no water. So, good luck on that, right?
We stumbled upon some guy who was on a motorbike, and he got his grandparents or something were following him, and they got apart from each other, and I was like, here, he's like, dude, I don't have any water, and I was like, oh my god, man, here, and so then like right before we wrecked your machine, we came across the grandparents. I was like, hey, were you guys because he told us what kind of car they had, and I'm like, did you guys have a grandson or something out here? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, he's okay, we gave him water, and the grandma was crying. She's like, thank you so much. And I was like, we got good karma, dude. Everything's gonna be here. And then 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh, so like, no, daddy.
No, and like I think I told you before you left, I was like, every time when a crash happens, it's always like an overconfidence thing. So you get like super confident, let your guard down, and then next thing you know, you're like this, Yep,
that was me, 100% me, dude. I was like, dude, I'm ready to go into the like whatever the pro leagues is here, dude. I'm fucking great, dude. I got
you. Almost had it. You were so close. Like, so close.
Oh shit, man. Well, Morgan, dude, we appreciate having us on, man. If anybody wants, they're out in Moab, they want to rent a machine from you, or they want to, pick your brain about something, how can anybody listening get a hold of you?
Yeah, so best way to get a hold of us is through our phone number here. So it's 435-210-4359. Or you can hit our website. It's got everything on there, prices, all of our, our fact page, our frequently asked questions are awesome. We also have an online store, so if you want to buy a sweatshirt or a t-shirt or something, there's some cool designs in there. Anyhow, that's the best way to get a hold of us usually. Is
Perfect,
through all
man.
those avenues. Yeah.
Morgan, thanks so much for joining us, man. We appreciate your time. And Greg, you got any other anything we need to let anybody know?
Watersportpockets.com. Get your tickets to the port.
Yeah, October 20th and 21st is going to be the event of the millennium.
Yeah, I'm super jealous. I'm too far away.
Jay-Z will be speaking there. No, I'm just kidding. Jay-Z and Donald Trump.
We're gonna have a baby oil parties at Kevin's
All
house.
right, there we go. That's weird. All right, keep it awkward, fuckers.
Hey, thanks for having me.